On this fourth day of what was called a four-day pause of the fighting in Gaza, Israel and Hamas agreed to extend this pause for an additional 2 days. Per the agreement, women and children currently held hostage by Hamas will be released each day in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. Now, over the weekend, Israel negotiated the release of 4-year-old hostage Abigail Eden, who was a U.S. and Israeli citizen, and some expect 2 more American women to be included in an upcoming hostage release. Joining me now to discuss this and more is Congressman Mark Alford. He serves on the House Armed Services Committee and the House Agriculture Committee. He represents the 4th Congressional District of Missouri. Congressman Alford, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thank you, Tony. Good to be here.
So I want to get your reaction to this. Just announced earlier today that this initial 4-day pause in the fighting has been extended and a commitment made for 20 more hostages to be released over these next 2 days.
Well, look, this is what we thought Hamas was going to do all along. It is great that these hostages are being released. We'd like to see some Americans released. But this is the way Hamas is going to play this out. And what does Hamas want? They want this ceasefire. That's what the proponents for Hamas have been calling for. The administration doesn't want to call it that. They'll call it a pause. But why does Hamas want this? Well, it's strategic on their part. As long as they can piecemeal out the hostages and get them back with their families in Israel, then they have, I wouldn't say an advantage, but they have something that they can use to their benefit to rebuild, rearm, and get ready for the next round that the IDF has in store for them.
So I want to, when we look at, Mark, the global instability, this is a reminder of why we need a strong national defense. I mean, I think you'd be hard-pressed not to say that what we're seeing around the globe right now, there's a connection between America and the weakness that we've been projecting since Afghanistan. You're a key part of the negotiations on the National Defense Authorization Act. That's going to be front and center coming up here in Washington this week, next week, this month. What can you tell us?
Yes, I'm very honored to have been selected for the conference committee as a freshman member of the Armed Services Committee. I will be fighting starting this Wednesday, with the Senate Conference Committee, the House combined, of course, and we will be fighting against the diversity, equity, inclusion program. So we had amendments trying to get rid of them on the House version of that, the CRT programs, also giving our military a 5.2% pay raise, better housing, and trying to rebuild our programs, trying to get recruitment back going, not just in the Army, which missed its goal by 25% last year, but all branches of the military, providing better housing for our men and women serving our great nation.
Congressman, I want to ask you about the diversity, equity, and inclusion, because not only was that an issue that the House zeroed in on, removing a lot of that funding in this year's National Defense Authorization Act, but the military right before Thanksgiving came back and requested another $114 million to spend on diversity, equity, and inclusion. What is it they don't get?
I have no earthly idea. Unfortunately, I think Senator Chuck Schumer, who's kind of put us behind an 8-ball in all of this, waiting to get this conference going. I think he's part of this master plan to keep this DEI and the CRT going in the military after we have offered successfully amendment after amendment to get rid of these programs. They're doing nothing but divide us in the military, dividing our nation. And yet this administration and the Obama administration before them are intent on, I think, destroying our military by dividing us further. There's a reason that they wear uniforms in the military. That is to make people uniform and to concentrate on skin color or what gender they use. The communist Chinese simply don't care.
This is going to be pretty intense in these negotiations because the left, the Democrats, they like this stuff. This is what they want to see our military used for. Now, not all of them, to be fair, not all of them. Some of those that serve on the House Armed Service, on the Senate Armed Services Committee, they do care about the military being strong.
Eric Schmidt, our senator from Missouri.
So how do you think this is going to come out? I mean, how's this going to work out?
Well, look, they're going to throw up roadblocks. I know our chairman, Rogers, has been meeting with his counterparts in the Senate as well, trying to work out some of these things ahead of time. One of the things they're going to be going after is this ban on travel to have abortions. So say someone gets pregnant at Fort Leonard Wood in the southwestern part or southeastern part of our district, they can go to Illinois to get an abortion where it's legal because it's illegal in Missouri. We're saying that should not happen. That's why Senator Tuberville has held up these promotions for senior military officials, and quite successfully so, to get the point across that this has to end. That is in our version of the NDAA. It'll be interesting to see what the Senate does with that. We're anticipating they try to strip that out, but we are going to be fighting for this. We're going to be fighting to end the abortion travel because simply it's basically paying for the facilitation of an abortion, which is wrong.
Right.
We're going to be fighting to get rid of these DEI and CRT programs. We'll be fighting tooth and nail.
So Congressman Alford, isn't that the off-ramp that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have been looking for to resolve this military promotion issue? That they're, as you pointed out, Senator Tuberville has said, look, I'm putting a pause on these military promotions. You're going to have to vote on every one of them. That has the left all upset. This could be the way out. They just allow this language that is clarifying language in the NDAA to stay there. Issue resolved.
It could very well be. Look, we're going to fight for it in our conference. I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but I do know that the input on our end is going to be stripping that out, making it illegal to pay for any type of facilitation of abortion. It should not be up to the American taxpayers. No matter where you stand on abortion, whether you think the individual states, as the Jobs decision ruled that it should lie up to the states, that doesn't matter. The taxpayer should not be paying to reimburse travel expenses or housing expenses so someone can go get an abortion in another state. That's not how it works in America.
Right. It hasn't for years. This was a unilateral change by the Biden administration. And as you said, Senator Tuberville taking a heroic stand, protecting not just the unborn, but the rule of law. Two very, very important aspects of our society. Final question for you, Congressman Mark Alford. What's the timeline here? When do you think we'll see something on the NDAA back in the House, a negotiated compromise between the two chambers?
I'm new to this, so I'd be over my skis if I tried to predict that. I would hope that we would have something back in a couple of weeks, maybe a month. But we have so much to do in the U.S. House. We still have appropriation bills to pass. We've got to get this done so we don't have to do another continuing resolution. I voted against the continuing resolution because I didn't want to keep kicking the can down the road. So we have a lot. We've got the Farm Bill to do. We're going to have to do an extension on the Farm Bill. All these programs that we have kind of shot ourselves in the foot over because of the firing of Kevin McCarthy and then having to find and hire a new Speaker of the House, it's put us back by about 6 weeks. And so we have a lot of work to do for the American people. I'm just glad the 4th Congressional District sent me there to be their voice in their vote.
And we are as well. Congressman Mark Alford, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Good seeing you, Tony.